Kevin Bowen here. Don't forget to listen to The Fan now on 93.5 or 107.5 FM, and check out our latest coverage online at 1075thefan.com.
It's finally bleeping over. Should have let him storm the field. Needed Josh McDaniels on the Jumbotron. I heard there were strict orders not to have that happen. But should have had him storm the field. That's my only gripe from Saturday night. Kevin Bowen, Chris Presley, one of the greatest environments in Lucas Oil Stadium history, a win that Colts Nation will remember for quite some time, sealed by an iconic potential MVP type of moment. Back another edition of Kevin's Corner for everyone traveling out there over the next few weeks. Safe travels, enjoy the family time. Goes without saying what the past year plus has meant to a lot of people. So hopefully you are able to get with family and enjoy it, and enjoy a little Colts football, I guess, on Christmas as well. Chris Presley, I know you were traveling this weekend. How was it?
It was good. I went down to Nashville. My nephew graduated from Belmont. People from the Indianapolis area. That's where Dylan Windler went, Perry Meridian grad, who
the Bruins of Belmont. Yeah,
was drafted in the first round by the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple years ago. It's a beautiful campus. It's, a couple blocks away from Vanderbilt, and then even a couple more blocks away from Broadway.
No, easy.
Which could be dangerous depending on when you go and where you go. But
education could take a backseat with that one there. But.
No, but it was great, and I saw you had a good weekend as well. It looked like you had a lot of good family time, and then obviously you capped it off with a nice press box view of the Colts win. Yeah,
unusual Saturday night game, but did squeeze in some family time around it, and you just woke up Saturday morning, Chris. And, you don't usually drive to the stadium when it's dark out and all those things. It was fun, and I'm glad that Colts fans got to just kind of soak up that emotion that came with everything there, and a football team in the Colts that I thought handled the environment better. We knew this game meant more to Indy than it did New England. But with that, how do you handle that pressure? How do you handle more of that environment? Sorry, I'm sitting so low. I feel like
you are in a low rider over
there. Yeah, I feel like I barely see you over here. There's pressure, there's hype, there's juice, there's energy. Can you stay disciplined? Can you handle and remember what your assignments and the game plan is, and all of those things? And Chris, I sat there at halftime, and I had two thoughts. First, how the hell did the Colts lose 6 games? That was my first thought. Secondly, my thought was the Patriots look like how the Colts typically play in this rivalry. Like, undisciplined, losing the penalty battle, losing the turnover battle, and really critical penalties at critical moments, critical turnovers at critical moments, and then just a massive special teams breakdown. The Colts have really been a extremely disciplined team this season, certainly, but I would say under Frank Reich. And the fact that they've done that, for 3 months now, but then how they do it on that stage, that was kind of a question that I had entering Saturday night, and they continued to do it. They had 2 penalties the entire game. You can point to, again, massive Patriot penalties that either took points off the board or, took them out of good scoring opportunities. And, what an effort. Bubba Ventrone and his special teams unit, of course, setting the tone early. We'll get into that here in just a second. I know we got a lot of kind of crowd noise questions, I believe, in the Twitter sphere, so we'll get to those in a little bit. But just what it means. What is it now? 11 straight games, Chris. They've had a double-digit lead. Nearly a 90% chance to make the playoffs. You win 2 of your last 3, you're going to get in. You win 1, you still got a chance, honestly, to get in. And I just think you further – I don't know if, sending a message to the AFC, if that gets you anything, but I think you also send a message to yourself of, we can beat these teams.
Yeah.
Buffalo, now New England. I've brought up how the Colts have benefited from their schedule, and they have, but they also have beaten every single team in the AFC East by double digits. So, yes, they are playing the easier division of the other 3 in the AFC, but a Miami team that's gotten hot. They beat them by double digits. A Buffalo team that's very much still in the thick of it, double digits. New England as well. So the Colts have gotten help, and now it's time to do their own. And they certainly did that. I thought it was as most shit talking you're ever going to get out of Frank Reich after a game. Deion Sanders flaunting his chest and Frank Reich a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that was Frank Reich sticking it out there. And good for him. I mean, think about it. What week all year long does he get asked about the opposing head coach daily? Several questions within those press conferences. I mean, yeah, that's got to wear on you
right
by the end of it. So when you're able to beat that team and Josh McDaniels and that angle to it, I get a little bit of the swaggerness. Again, Frank Reich swaggerness, you really got to look hard for it. But as someone that sat in on hundreds of Frank Reich press conferences over the past 4 years, that definitely was him feeling himself a little bit. And again, good for him on that. So what a game. We'll break it all down. Highs, couple lows. But yeah, just big. We said on our morning show, Kevin and Query, leading into the game, the Colts are the more talented team. Try to reiterate, and I tweeted out again Saturday, folks, this is not an above-average run defense. It's not even an average run defense. If you pound it and you stick to it, you're going to break them. And certainly, it took until about minute 58, but you're able to break them there and win that game. So the AFC, so up for grabs, and I continue to point back to that conference tiebreaker, Chris. I mean, you look at it right now, man. There's still 4. We're recording this late Monday morning. If Cleveland wins tonight, I want to say that pushes Cincy then into the wild card race, puts Cleveland as the AFC North leader. So that would mean 5 8-6 football teams in the wild card, and yet the Colts are atop the rest because of that conference record.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you've benefited from your schedule, but you also have beaten Buffalo, beaten New England, 2 teams that one of them is right there with you. The other one could be right there with you, depending on how that rematch goes for those 2 teams on Sunday. So giant step forward. Insert your Neil Armstrong quote here of whatever it is when he stepped foot on the moon. Huge jump, man, and 2 of 3. 2 of 3, and you got a very reeling Arizona team on Saturday night, and a banged up Arizona.
Yeah, and it's great. Going back to a previous pod, you mentioned that people will text you. I know I did last night. In terms of who do we want to win? Is this good? Is this bad? I mean, it was the same way this weekend being down with my brothers and brothers-in-law. One's a huge Buffalo Bills fan, so his kids, my nephews, are like, so Dad, we want the Colts to beat the Patriots, right? Because then we play the Patriots next week, and everyone's just everything. It's almost like the ball and cup game. Everything just keeps shifting around, and right now the Colts look pretty good.
The ball and cup is a great analogy. My wife and I went to Straight No Chaser concert yesterday.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Kind of a Christmas present for her, and the show started at 3:30. So very strategically, and I made sure phone below the leg. Okay, all right, these scores there. But still making. I mean, they were very very impressive and funny, which I definitely enjoyed. Anyways, intermission happens. I look at my phone. It's like from like 5 different groups of people. Who do I cheer for? Who do we cheer for? Who do we? And then my Twitter mentions and like all of that as well. So we'll try to get into a little bit of that. I know a lot of Titans Steelers debate yesterday. I think we had a Twitter question on that. So we'll save it for that. But let's get into things that I liked.
Yeah, obviously, the guy who sealed the game didn't go to him the first possession, which people, Colts fans and my friends were tweeting me, what are we doing? Why aren't we running the ball? But Jonathan Taylor just continues to dominate in the way he drags tacklers. I mean, we can put him on what we like almost every week, Kevin.
Yeah, honestly, you can. Didn't go to him on the first possession of the third quarter either. I'm thinking to myself, did Frank Reich have a bet? Like, we won't. Taylor's not going to touch it for these couple possessions. So much to take away from Taylor. Chris, we're going to unpack it all right here. The thing that stands out the most, and when you get 14 games into a season, you're looking for outliers at this point. Okay, what is different? Matt Eberflus defense, they're doing things differently than they did earlier in the year. Kudos to him, because you guys know full well what my thoughts have been with that scheme. Jonathan Taylor played 51 of 52 snaps on Saturday night. Now, to some, that might be like, oh, duh, he's a starter. He should play a lot. That is an astronomical number for an NFL running back in today's league. Last year, I believe he only had one game above 70% of the snaps. And again, Saturday night, he was 98%. This year, I think I looked it up, he was over 80% just twice. So he goes from, early in the year, 50, then they got to November and they started to commit to him on the field more. You go to 98% with a running back in today's NFL, that's like what Barry Sanders used to do, or Edger. I'm assuming those guys played a lot, but it's probably even more than they were playing. And like when you see 27 carries, Chris, like that usually speaks for itself. Like 27 carries is a big number. But think about that. He was on the field for 24 other plays that he didn't touch the ball on. One of those plays, huge blitz pickup.
Yeah.
Wentz to Pascal. One of those plays, the Ashton Dulin end around. You think of Marlon Mack is at the top of that running back formation, that Ashton Dulin is scampering for 37 yards.
Right.
If Hines is in the game, Frank talked afterwards, we thought, Deion Jackson might actually get a couple carries. Like, the fact that you're committing to putting him on the field, music to my ears. This dude has rare durability. He's got rare stamina. Play him. Flat out. Play him. He clearly showed, wasn't he the fastest? Didn't he rev it up to like 23 miles per hour on that touchdown run?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the fastest of anybody in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
So he played 98% of the snaps, and yet his final snap of the game, he just ran faster than anybody in the NFL did this season. Like, we're all in. Everybody get on Jonathan Taylor's choo-choo train. We talked about the MVP back in the summer. People laughed at me. Here we are. You got to have an MVP-type moment, and he did. That first touchdown drive, Chris, just the pile. Moving forward. Yep. Contact. Mm-hmm. There's 4. There's 6. Oh, my gosh. Did he really get 7 there? Like, just those runs and then that drive. Doolin at the start, and then to finish it, you had the Patriots special. And, again, that's Frank. Why don't you call it the Indy special?
Right.
That's Frank saying, I think it's Frank's way of talking shit, which I don't know if it worked out well, but whatever. You know full well that we've loved the 2-back sets. And how about Hines? He had 1 touch the whole game. That was it. That was the only touch. No other running back had a carry. And I think with that Hines package, you aren't good enough at receiver right now to not use that more. So I want to continue to see wrinkles off of that package there. The other thing I thought to myself during that game was like, remember when it was a miracle if Frank Gore got like 48 rushing yards in a game?
Right.
Like, remember that streak of like 50-some games without a 100-yard rusher, and now it's...
You're just waiting for one, and now it's every week.
Right. People are freaking out late in the game that Taylor didn't have 100 yards. He had like 90-something, and he didn't have a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. So
the trivia question back in the day used to be, who was the last one? Vic Ballard. And people were like, I never would have guessed that.
Oh, my gosh. I know. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was like, no one was tweeting at me, you're jinxing the Colts week in, week out when I would tweet that out. Like, when will this streak end? My jinx luck didn't work too well there. When he was drafted, Chris, the quick assumption was, he'll be like Monte Ball. He'll be like Melvin Gordon. He'll be like Ron Dane. Just a Wisconsin running back. It's a product of the system. And I said, whoa. Let's not get lazy and just group him into that category. Did Gordon or Ball, or hell, Dane definitely didn't, any of them run 4.3 in the 40-yard dash at Wisconsin? Any of them have the character that Taylor has? I'm not questioning these guys, although some of them I've heard some pretty wild Ron Dane stories. But anyways, this dude's rare. And the home run element, and I guess this sets up the final play, the 67-yarder. First off, Danny Pinter says after the game that Quentin Nelson was sensing a run blitz. Great IQ by Quentin. You watch the play happen. Kyle Van Noy is kind of lined up as what you would traditionally think as like a middle linebacker. He blitzes. So Dante Hightower shifts a little bit to where Van Noy was at. So now Hightower is starting to run to his right. And by run, I just mean, kind of shuffle to his right. Devin McCourty comes up to fill that gap as well.
Terrific blocking by Kylan Granson on the outside to set that left edge, and then you had Fisher and Nelson and Pinter, all kind of sliding down. So you've created this hole. That hole would have gotten Taylor, let's say, 3 or 4 yards, which is important because you need Taylor to have space to make a decision.
Right.
So the O-line, tight end, identifying the run blitz, they made the decision, or they gave him the opportunity to make a decision, and then it's a left foot in the ground, and that cut to the right, and Hightower and McCourty, the two most experienced Patriot defensive players, been there forever, those two miss, and it's one of the loudest cheers you'll ever hear inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. That's your MVP moment. That's your Heisman moment. That's Desmond Howard, striking the pose. That is that for Jonathan Taylor. We won't get into as much of MVP, Defensive Player of the Year on this pod. We might say that for a later one, Chris, but what is MVP? Is it the best player in the NFL or is it the most valuable player in the NFL? Because those are two totally different things. Best player in the NFL? My vote goes to him. Most valuable, now we're nitpicking. And now we're hurting him because he plays running back. And let's be honest, if Marlon Mack or Nyheim Hines was your running back duo for an entire season, the Colts are probably what? I don't know. Let's just say 5-7, or they played more games than that. Whatever. Let's say how many they played? 14? Let's say they're 5-9. Now, you take Aaron Rodgers, or if Blaine Gabbert starts for Tom Brady. Right. The Bucs are probably a different. So, when you get into most valuable, that's what hurts him. So I'm just curious. I don't know.
But it is, like you said, it's almost like the Heisman debate.
Right. Typically the Heisman goes to the best player on the best team. Does that hurt him? When Adrian Peterson won it in 2012, the Vikings were 10-6. It's not like they were 14-2. And I think Saturday night showed it. A quarterback that's not carrying his weight. Without Taylor, you don't win that football. To me, he brings more value than the average running back there. I also think when you compare him to his position, think about that. Aaron Donald is so much better than every defensive tackle in the league. Yes. Look at Taylor right now to compare to the rest of the running back group. I believe it's 424 more rushing yards than Joe Mixon at number 2. Think about that, Chris. 400 every running back in the league, no more buys. Right. Everybody's played the same amount of games. But again, it's his durability, his stamina, whatever you want to call it. He is just totally looking down on the rest of his running back position. So
I think durability is a good word because if you look at, and if I'm not mistaken, so right now if you look at the top 5 rushing leaders, and this is obviously we still have
we got a
Monday and Tuesday games. So
here,
Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, who had a monster weekend last weekend, Derrick Henry, who's been injured, obviously, and Nick Chubb.
God, Henry's still up there.
I believe 2 through 5, Mixon, Cook, Henry, and Chubb have been out at some point this season. Jonathan Taylor has not.
Right. And we'll see what Chubb does tonight, I guess. But, yes, he's available.
So the durability point, and like you said, having all those snaps.
He doesn't need rest.
It's unreal.
Yeah, during the game, doesn't need rest. So, I know he should have gone down to run out the clock. Screw it. He needed his MVP moment. He needed it there. I didn't fault Leonard Fournette for doing it a few weeks earlier. I think that's so much easier said than done at that moment. Beautiful by Jonathan Taylor, Chris. It was impressive. I was not sold on New England being able to stop the run. Was it, tough sledding at times? Was it a bit methodical? Sure. He was 25 carries for, 100 yards kind of at that point. Obviously late in the game, it was very tough sledding. But at that point, if you tell Carson to drop back and pass, you'll have half the stadium booing. Mm-hmm. That's where you're at. Gainbridge Field out Saturday, the IU fans are booing Xavier Johnson. That's what it was turning into. To do it against that box, again, credit Nelson. Yep. And I think a lot of people say, can't wait for Hard Knocks to see kind of how all of that is portrayed and seen. So, Jonathan Taylor, man, a flat-out stud. Chris Ballard, kudos. Jim Irsay, kudos. Irsay said to Ballard in that draft room, you want this guy, go up and get him. Don't wait. He did it. The rest is history.
Second point you want to talk about, coming a few hours off of his team winning the HBCU National Championship. Darius Leonard and that linebacking group just played outstanding.
We had the Maniac on the morning show this morning, Kevin and Query, so make sure to download that podcast, check it out, along with Jeff Saturday, who we have on every Monday. The entire linebacker group, Chris, game ball. All of them. Dave Organzi, their position coach, game ball. Let's kind of go in chronological order with the plays that were made in that room. Let's start with the block punt. Matthew Adams just whips his one-on-one matchup against New England. The block and then EJ Speed, again, gets in the end zone. Like, Chris, it's one of those things where it's like you see guys get so happy at that point they just like jump on it and squirts out and goes through the end zone for a safety. Like, Speed's done a nice job this year in recovering those balls and then returning them in the whatever game that was that he returned it for a touchdown. Jacksonville, maybe?
Yes.
And then this one, he just kind of fell on it there. So, Bubba Ventrone, you start to see this head coaching candidate list. Ventrone, shows up on a few of them. I think he's been a bit of a Hard Knocks guy. It seems like Hard Knocks has helped him out a little bit.
Yep.
And, boy, you think the ex-Patriot in him was fired up.
Right.
That reaction on the sideline, former player, former coach for Belichick and everything. So, that was huge. Just absolutely huge there. Okay, the Leonard interception. One of the first questions I asked Darius this morning when we had him on the show is, all right, Darius, I'm up 600 feet, so I don't know if I saw this, how it looked, but I saw you wagging your finger at Mac Jones about 3 or 4 plays before the interception. They threw a ball over the middle. I think Jonnu Smith either caught it or had a chance to catch it, but it was just over Leonard's outstretched hands. And I thought it was wagging his finger to Mac Jones. You do that again, and I'm getting it. It's exactly what it was. Now, that interception was thrown right to him, a little bit different, but that was Leonard. Once again, right spot, right time, and I don't think we talk about that pick enough, or at least I haven't heard it enough in the last 48 hours. New England's on the doorstep to score there.
Yep.
That's 14-7 at half. They get the ball to start the third. And, as much as Mac Jones had a couple of throws that I was like, whoa. The Colts made him look like a rookie, and he hasn't looked like a rookie that much this year. Mac Jones is a pretty good football player.
Yes, he is.
There were some plays where I was like, whoa. As much as Colts fans want to, hate to hear it, that New England team, I don't know if they can keep it, the free agency aspect to it together, but they got a quarterback for quite some time there. That's 2 for 1 in that situation. If I'm not mistaken, too, Chris, and I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, okay. They had a 2nd and 1 at the 13-yard line at the 2-minute warning.
Mm-hmm.
New England did. False start. Now it's 2nd and 6.
Right.
3-yard run. There it's 3rd and 3. That's when Leonard makes the pick. The crowd was incredible, and the crowd directly influenced, I would say, 3 to 4 monumental penalties. Monumental penalties. You had the offsides on Badgley's missed field goal. You had the false start late when they brought in the tackle eligible that all of a sudden made it now 3rd and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Incomplete pass. Belichick decides to kick the field goal on 4th and 7. If that's 4th and 2, the false start doesn't happen.
He's going for it.
He's going for it.
Yeah.
And who knows at that point. So, credit the crowd and then Leonard making the pick. And then the last one, Bobby Okereke to start the second half. The replay, the slow-mo. I think Fox does a great job with their slow-mo replays, by the way. Do you like Greg Olsen?
I like Greg Olsen. I like his insight. I don't necessarily like his delivery. I think he'll get there.
His delivery is unique, and it is different than a lot of normal color guys.
But it is nice, especially around the linebacker area, in terms of he'll let you know, hey, instead of extending your arms, if you go into that guy with the shoulder and turn your hips, he'll let you know some of the veteran secrets of being an underneath route runner. And right now there's so many good tight ends in the NFL and good linebackers that it is nice to hear kind of how they play their chess game.
Yeah, I enjoy him on the broadcast. We're going to try to get him on the radio show this week. I'm not sure if we'll be able to, but again, the Fox slow-mo replay on the Okereke pick, flat out, Mac Jones was late on it. That was late. But that right there, you watch Bobby extend.
Mm-hmm.
That is why Chris Ballard drafted him. Wingspan. Run. Length. Length is such a popular word come NBA draft time. Well, there's some length there at the linebacker position, and it allows Darius Leonard to tip a ball over the middle, or Mac Jones to throw a ball a little bit high over the middle so he can't throw it on more of that, kind of crisp arc and make that play there. So that linebacker room, all of them, man. And you know what? No room. Chris Ballard overhauled more than that group.
True.
I mean, he has drafted everybody in there, and a big credit to him for wanting to change the body types, change the athleticism in that room. And that group, in a variety of ways, have made plays and made a ton on Saturday night. So good work by the LBs.
So coming on the heels of a big win, we talked about what we liked. Obviously, always talk about what things we didn't like. And you only have one, which is good.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, though.
Yeah. I thought early, Chris, as much as the moment wasn't too big for the rest of the Colts, I thought it just a little erratic early. Kind of a fastball to Pittman on that little RPO, miss Pittman then on the deep ball, and I mean, you don't get many chances like that. So I was curious if they deviated from the game script at all after that first drive.
I feel like they did.
Because then it was quickly very committed to the ground on that very next series. I'm curious if they were like, all right, we got a horse that's a little bit antsy. We got to kind of rein him in. I just thought in general, Chris, he was a little bit late on things. And that's something I think you could say more often than not this season, particularly on deep balls. Not as much deep balls on Saturday night, but just like some of the crossing stuff a tad late. He threw 12 passes. Obviously, it's a very small number. Now, he's very happy that one of those passes was the Nyheim Hines touchdown, because that takes his passer rating from like 0.0 to, at least something.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots got their hands on 6 of those 12 balls. That is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
1 pick, of course, and then 5, I think, other passes defensed. That's horrible. And, he's fortunate that another ball or two wasn't picked off. The interception, 1st and 10, RPO, to me, when I watch the replay, the numbers say hand it off. As I'm watching the play unfold, I'm thinking, he didn't make the right decision at the start of the play, not giving it to Taylor. And that, from a number, and again, who knows, maybe I'm dead wrong, but from a pure number standpoint, I thought the give should have been what he did there. So he decides not to give it, so he rolls out, and at that point it's like, all right, maybe you scramble for a few yards, you dump it off to somebody, you live to see another down. He forces it like it's 20-7, the Colts are losing. It was dumber than the Titans' interceptions, and the Titans' interceptions were really freaking dumb. At that point I'm thinking, where is Nelson to go grab Frank Reich again and say, hello, run it, forced runs, downhill runs, not RPOs. Pittman's in the locker room. And, this is the thing with Frank. And again, Frank was so good. But you get into conviction and belief, and Frank Reich wants to treat all the kids the same. They're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Pittman's in the locker room. You've got a 20-7 lead. You feel like they could break. You got to be smart with your decision-making, and more of it is probably on Carson in that play there. But, it's funny. I feel like the national audience has only watched the Colts play 2 games this year. It's New England, and it's the second Tennessee game.
Yeah.
So they think Carson Wentz has been god-awful, which is not true. He has not been that at all. My worry comes from projecting this team in January when it's really real. And in by far the 2 biggest games of the season, he's looked incredibly shaky at those moments.
Yeah.
So that is where my concern comes from.
Unfortunately for him, people didn't watch the Jets game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe fortunately for them, but yes, unfortunately for
Carson.
him. Yeah, exactly. Josh Johnson's family, very, very happy to watch it, but that was probably about it. This run game's too good for your passing offense to be so inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting 350 yards, but with how loaded the box is, and again, the presence of Taylor, that passing game should be flourishing. And it's not all on Carson. It's not a great wideout core. I fully acknowledge that. And New England has got a good secondary. But still, 5 of 12 for 30-some yards. And again, of those 7 incompletions, 6 of them they get their hands on. I mean, the only non-incompletion where they didn't touch it was the overthrow of Pittman. Besides that, New England is getting their hands on a whole lot of balls there. So it comes back to the age-old question, Chris, of what do you feel you need in your quarterback to win it all or to make a run?
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel you need? In the biggest games of the season, I haven't seen Cousins, Garoppolo, Tannehill out of Wentz. Like, he hasn't even been at that level. So that is where my concern comes from of, is this 2 games, and they just happen to be the 2 biggest games of the season so far? Or is it when the pressure rises in big games, a little erratic Carson gets in there? I think that's the question that we have moving forward. I'm a guy, and this might sound really stupid, Chris, but like I'm watching the Colts, and they're doing their pregame intros, and they announce the defense as the team or as the unit, and I'm thinking to myself, man, like if I'm building a team, I feel like my quarterback's got to be the last one running out of the tunnel against these games, And like I totally get it. Your defense just played great, and Darius Leonard injects quite a roar inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. But like if I'm announcing my offense, I mean, I'm telling Wentz, hey, dude, you go before Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's actually going to go after you right now to announcing. And again, that's something I'm trying to make a really bad analogy here, but it's just like, can you win when your quarterback isn't that guy, isn't the guy? So that's where we're at. I get it's 12 passes, not a ton, but at the same time, I think your efficiency within those 12 passes needed to be at a higher level, and I really don't think we're going to get a great answer on this until, real football, one-and-done football rises. Yeah. And who knows, maybe Carson will play like the Carson we've seen for very much of the 14 games this season, but I don't know how you don't walk out of that stadium Saturday night and have some question marks with him. So overcame him. Jonathan Taylor, terrific. Big throw to Pascal. I will say that ball over the middle. The QB sneaks, good. Rivers probably doesn't do that, but I mean, I'm not going to act like Carson Wentz's QB sneaks deserved a game ball or anything like that. They're big plays, but Tom Brady athleticism can QB sneak it. Like it's not like your quarterback skill set totally made the difference there. So that was what I did not like from Saturday.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look before we get into Twitter questions, but just when you said that, can you win with the quarterback not being your guy, the first one I thought of was Joe Flacco. Right. And quickly, everything started rushing in my head. Okay, they had Ray Rice. We have Jonathan Taylor. They didn't really have a great passing game, but they had stuff. They did have some guys. They had Suggs. We have Darius Leonard. Maybe we're kind of like that Ravens team right now, but we'll see.
It's funny because that is obviously, I think, a quarterback a lot of people point to when they think about, average quarterback play that got it done at a really high level. I'm trying to find it now. Flacco's postseason stats. So if I'm not mistaken, he was like terrific.
Oh yeah, I mean that postseason made him the highest paid.
Right. Like that postseason was not Joe Flacco. So that was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes.
Joe Flacco in those 4 games, 6 + 5 is 11. 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, passer ratings of 125, 116, 106, 124. Yards per attempt, 8.7 or bigger in 3 of those 4 games. So, again, that was Flacco doing un-Flacco-like things. And, I mean, you look at some of Flacco's other postseason games, and, oh, my gosh, they'll make you weep. Not in a good way if you're a Ravens fan. So, I just think that's the question. Fair, unfairly, I think there's a lot of legitimacy for it, so that's why I'm asking it. But, hopefully for the Colts and hopefully for Wentz, we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
Here in a couple weeks. And Wentz has done a lot of good for you. Again, I keep on going back to him protecting the football has been huge. And, I just thought he flirted with disaster far too often. Got burnt eventually, but flirted with it too much for that game to be as close as it was late.
All right, Kevin, Twitter questions is going to start out keeping us with the Carson Wentz. There was some difference here in the press conference post-game.
Yeah.
What happened between Carson Wentz and Randall wants to know, was it Matthew Judon? Also, Michael Pittman got into some things out on the field. What was said? What came from those press conferences?
Okay, well, let's start with the ejection. Certainly no USC pretty boy out of Pittman there.
No.
Yeah. So he should not have been ejected. I don't think Kyle Duggar should have been ejected. I think they both should have gotten whatever, unsportsmanlike or whatever the hell the phrase is. You bring them together. You say, if you get another one, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a rule? Didn't we adopt this too unsportsmanlike or too taunting, whatever the hell it's called? You throw them flags for both of them there. I didn't see a punch from Pittman. I saw a little more aggression from Duggar than I did Pittman, but I'm sorry, refs. We have not stopped 5 straight plays because of those two. That was the first time I noticed it. Yeah. Really, like post-whistle, big time. Get them together. Get Wentz and Donta Hightower together, or Devin McCourty, whoever you need to get together that are captains. And let's realize the moment that it's a high-energized game, and this gets back to the whole taunting penalty that I hate and all this stuff. So I was pretty pissed at the officiating. Secondly, can we not go to the booth? Isn't that what replay is for? An element of that? Like, go there and take a closer look and then deem if ejections are necessary. Now,
or, I mean, recently New York has been coming in before the plays of someone in New York watching.
Right. Now, Belichick pointed out, and he was accurate, he pointed out today in his presser, T.Y. Hilton did push an official down. I really don't think T.Y. knew that was an official. I'm just kind of one of those, like, you're in a pile, you're trying to get Pittman, you just shove somebody with your right hand, the official falls down. So, by the letter of the law, Hilton should have been ejected. I think he did make one catch after that. But still, I was just, I don't know. Pittman shouldn't have been ejected.
Yeah.
To the Wentz thing. So, when you watch the replay, I think it's Dietrich Wise. It could be somebody else. I think it's Dietrich Wise with a throat and kind of a, I don't know, like a hand, or excuse me, like an elbow and like a wrist, forearm to Carson's throat. That's what it looks like to me. Now, Carson pulled out the whole, he was impacting my ability to reproduce. That was the quote afterwards. I'm thinking, whoa, man, I mean, the Wentz family could be going to the Rivers family at some point with these kids. That is not good right now. I mean, we don't want any part of that. If you're Zionsville School District, you got the Wentz pipeline humming. You don't want that influenced whatsoever there. I didn't see that. I'm not going to act like I've been looking too deep into these things. Obviously, that's probably some bottom of the pile shit, but boy, was Carson fired up.
Yeah.
Was it Leonard that went out to get him, or Buckner went out to get him?
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
So I'm up in the press box, and, again, you're way up there, and Badgley misses the field goal, and I see Wentz walk out there, and I'm like, whoa, did Wentz think it went in? Is he going to go high-five his kicker for good effort? I'm kind of confused what he's doing out there, and then sure enough, he starts pointing at Judon, and again, I didn't see the Judon whatever. But when Carson said you need to keep your hands to your side, it sounds like me to Rosie when we go into a very breakable store at the mall. It's like, and Rosie looks at me like, I don't even know what that means. I'm 18 months old. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So, there you go, Randall. That's where we're at. I have a feeling some stuff will trickle out. I'm sure we'll get some fines, whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on now. Refs, realize the magnitude of the game. Bring some people together, and let's have these two teams meet in January again.
Yeah, let's talk about the magnitude of this game and the atmosphere. Niles wants to know, Kevin, how does that crowd rank in your recent memory? He was there, and he thinks it's the loudest that he's ever heard Lucas Oil Stadium.
Oof, boy, Niles, it's up there. Really, really up there. I would say the Taylor touchdown, probably up there with the Mathis strip against Peyton and T.Y. over the top against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Maybe Luck Superman, Kansas City. That probably, I don't know. I just feel like when you watch a play develop like that, it allows for this crescendo.
Yeah.
The build. Like, I'm just imagining my brother-in-law and his buddies just like punching the hell out of each other, at the 30 and the 20 and the 10, and just the buildup of that is just, unbelievable. First play of the game, Chris. First defensive play of the game, the crowd stands after a 3 and out. I mean, that ain't happening when the Raiders come into town in a couple of weeks. That doesn't happen, when Jacksonville's in town. Obviously, did you see the op-ed in the Indy Star from last week?
I did not.
Okay, so I believe the guy's name is Greg from Carmel. Greg from Carmel's not happy that he has to stand at Colts games, among other things that he's not happy about. He's got drunk fans around him. He's got long lines, whatever. He's bitching and moaning about all this stuff. So, part of you wants to say, Greg, welcome to a sporting event in 2021. Part of me says this, too. I fully realize physical limitations are there for fans that still want to be in the building. Can we not get 2 sections that are sitting?
At concerts and at sporting events, I never stand because I'm 6'4",
Right.
and there's always a 5'2" lady behind me.
Right.
And so I always turn around pre-show or pre-game, and I say, if I'm ever in your way, just tap my shoulder, and I will sit down. Like, I can peek my head through the trees a little bit here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was at a concert a few weeks back, and by no means was I dying to, like, it wasn't like I was seeing, Notre Dame, like, and I needed to be front row and needed to have, tailgated 10 hours early. So I was like, hey, if I'm ever in your way, just, like, move me or, like, tell me to move. But, again, like, I get that some people want to stand, and I get that some people, like, that's energy, and that's a lot. Like, I totally acknowledge that. So, I don't know. I don't know if the configuration of stadiums would allow for it, but, like, could you put a section, let's say 4 sections at each level that are the sitting sections or something like that, and fans that want to sit, you can still be in the environment and soak it in and whatnot. But, again, maybe you aren't physically capable of standing up or wanting to stand up the entire game. So I'm not going to get into the op-ed. If anyone wants to DM me about it, I'm 32, Chris. You and I are in a different age gap. The environment and the rowdiness of a game, I love it. I know I'm not necessarily that's the 65,000 consensus view of everybody that goes to Lucas Oil, but I am a fan of crazy atmospheres.
Yeah.
I think that's what I love about sports, an element of what I love about sports. And I think it's what it makes it, one day I will tell, Rosie, and she'll roll her eyes about the Colts New England game on December, 18th in 2021, and she won't care, but I hope she will care. And, like, that's really cool,
Yeah.
It's what we love about it. So, yeah.
I agree. Question from Greg, going back to Carson Wentz and his passing attack performance. Doesn't feel like he's getting anything done, and they couldn't get anything going against the Patriots. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I want to throw in, it's just not all Carson as well, Chris.
Yeah.
I do think at times, this tight end group is pretty blah in terms of just, like, separating and, being, like, I think it's a lot of schemed up stuff that you got to get for him. The receiver group, I'd kind of push into that category as well. And I'll keep on coming back to this, Chris. The benefit of having Jonathan Taylor. That should be creating this massive advantage for your passing offense. Not necessarily, don't fall into the trap of yards, efficiency, high completion percentage, some chunk plays, those sorts of things. So right now, there are a lot of elements about this football team I really, really like and think, holy hell, they are a dangerous out. The worrisome is just the lack of a pass rush and what you see from this passing offense. But again, man, Taylor's gotten to a point right now, this run game, you almost feel like it's unstoppable. And I know it's kind of a, probably a very aggressive adjective to use, but, like, there's elements that you almost feel like that,
Yeah. All right, we got a decently long one here from Marvin. He had his Twitter fingers going, and I don't blame him. Kevin, he's a longtime listener, first time asking a question. He hopes you and your family are doing well.
Thank you. Same to you.
Fired up and pumped after the win. Currently, he was on his honeymoon during the game.
Whoa, Marvin!
So, unfortunately, he missed the game due to time zone differences and mini Moscow mules.
Wait, he's drinking Moscow. I love a good Moscow mule.
Burnside downtown MSF has a really good one.
Very good. Very good.
Anyway, loving what I'm seeing out of the Colts lately. Beginning of the year had me scared, but now I'm seeing a different direction and personality of this football team. And, man, is it nasty nasty. And the Hard Knocks have been a great peek behind the scenes. Jonathan Taylor is a legit shot of winning the MVP. That should be discussed around the league. But Darius Leonard for Defensive Player of the Year, he's not heard much of, if not a whisper, even about the FanDuel odds of him moving up slightly. Can we begin that conversation right now?
Chris, thank you, Marvin. Is that the longest Twitter question we got today? It got to be, right?
Yeah, Marvin was going. Moscow mules in his blood, pumping. Honeymoon. His wife's like, "Are you coming to bed?" He's like, "No, I gotta reach out to Kevin right now."
I know. I'm nervous. You think the relationship is still intact? I'm a little nervous there, Marvin. Marvin, let us know where you're at for the honeymoon. Yeah. I'd love to know, and I owe you a Moscow mule if we ever cross paths there. What a question! What an effort! Man, those Darius Leonard Defensive Player of the Year odds are pretty insane right now. I mentioned on a couple prop swap updates a few weeks ago, like, buying a Leonard ticket, buying a Taylor ticket, you buy it, their odds skyrocket, and boom.
Yeah, you can flip it.
again, Chris, Defensive Player of the Year. Technically, it's not the MVP. I think Leonard might have the best resume. I really do. I get what TJ Watt's doing. What is it? Is it 3 forced fumbles for Watt? Maybe 4, something like that. I mean, it's still not at the magnitude.
He just set the Steelers franchise record. Myles
Leonard.
Garrett's. He had a return fumble last week.
I know Parsons didn't have a sack this past weekend, but it's hard for a linebacker.
It is.
Inside linebacker, I should say there. But I really think if the MVP is really the most valuable player, I think you can make a stronger case for Leonard, Defensive Player of the Year, than Taylor, most valuable player. But again, it's different acronyms. We're defining acronyms here, which is stupid. I mean, I really think Leonard deserves it, dude. I do. It's just the splash plays separate it. And early in the year, he was not 100%. And, he doesn't have the sack numbers. That's probably going to hurt him. I don't even know how many sacks he has. It can't be many this year. TJ Watt's got a lot of momentum. Got a lot of momentum. So I'll be curious to see how it plays out. But, the nationally televised game coming up Saturday night, if Leonard gets a turnover or two, boom,
Yeah.
Huge. How many sacks does he have?
Looking it up right now, he has...
I feel like he doesn't have many, if any.
I'm looking at the wrong... I don't think he has any.
Ask the next question, and then...
Yeah, 0 sacks this season.
0, really?
0 sacks.
Wow. Well, that's going to hurt him. That is, yeah.
Coming from Cat, the Colts have several key plays.
0.
0, yeah.
Man.
But you look at the interceptions and forced fumbles, like you said.
Definitely. It's just 0 is just a...
Yeah, I know. You get a couple more in there, and then
that's too many Kevin Bowen box scores back in the day,
The Colts had several key plays that ultimately decided the game. I see this as a testament to the roster that Chris Ballard and his team have built and developed. How would you rank the following plays in order of importance? Ashton Doolin's carry in the first quarter. Patriots special teams we blocked the Patriots special team punt and scored. The Darius Leonard pick, that would have been a touchdown for New England, potentially. Jonathan Taylor's home run at the end of the game run, and then Bobby Okereke's pick. Thanks for being the best Colts coverage.
Well, I appreciate that, Cat. I don't know any relation to Tiger Woods, the Cat.
Boy, him and his son looked great yesterday.
Trying to temper expectations.
I know.
He's still got to walk 18 holes. He's got to do it multiple days. But, man, that was wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we got the Doolin carry, block punt for a touchdown, the pick by Leonard, Jonathan Taylor's run at the end of the game, and Okereke's pick.
Man, that's good. Let's go with the special teams block first. Set the tone. I really think the Leonard interception. Second. I mean, those plays set up Taylor in the moment.
Right.
So I'll go Taylor next. Doolin carry fourth. The Doolin carry was important. And then Okereke's pick.
You just love the wrinkles you see with Doolin. Just doing everything. Special teams, wide receiver, running.
I think we got a Doolin question here in a little bit, so I'll expand more on that. But yes.
Michael
especially without Campbell.
Yeah. And hopefully we get him back. We can talk about that later. But Michael, I'm 100% in on feeding Jonathan Taylor, but we shouldn't have paid Nyheim Hines the amount of money on his contract with the lack of touches he's getting this year, in his opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Hines definitely hasn't lived up to the contract this year. That's entirely true. But I would put more of it on his usage, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more of a staff thing, I'm surprised his usage hasn't been higher considering the lack of wideout production, bodies, whatever you want to go with it. So,
yeah.
Hines has not lived up to it right now. I still think over time he's important for you. And I do think that you need him, but certainly through 14 games this year, no.
Yeah, and as we've told people on the podcast, we're big Hines fans. When that punt again, it was like,
oh yeah, that was shaky there.
All right, Big Bama, with Ashton Doolin's play and Isaiah Rodgers, which are you looking forward to keep watching as we finish out the season and possibly heading into next season with a question mark of T.Y. Hilton and Xavier Rhodes? And do you think Chris Ballard has to make a move this offseason at either position, particularly wide receiver, to give Carson Wentz more weapons he personally thinks they need a deep threat receiver.
I mean, yeah, definitely, yes. Wide receiver is, yes, definitely. On the Doolin Rodgers thing, can I say both?
Why not?
You know, both mean a whole lot. I mean, Rodgers, Chris, I thought Rodgers, I need to look up the snap counts from yesterday. I thought Rodgers really outsnapped Rock. And by yesterday, I mean Saturday.
Yeah, it's odd having a Saturday game.
I know, it is odd. It is odd. I'm trying to pull that up. Did I tell you we're doing the shrimp eating contest before the Raiders game, Jake and I?
On the field or in the concourse area?
Touchdown town, man.
Oh,
Touchdown
boy. Do you have
town.
to use the cocktail sauce when you eat them?
You got to use it, and you know what? Spicy food.
Uh-oh.
Seafood. That goes together like Colts and Patriots, man. For me. Yeah, dude.
That's tough.
So I was over at a good buddies of my house, Sean Esposito, on Friday. You know Sean
Yeah, I know
very
Sean.
well. On Friday, and he had some of it, and so they put it on a spoon. Maddie's freaking out. I thought Maddie was going to call 911 and just get ambulance set up just in case. I was able to handle a little bit of it, but in that environment, I'm a little nervous. They say milk
It's
is what you need.
I tweeted out last year, that's the COVID test in Indiana. If you can't taste or smell the St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail sauce, then go see your doctor.
See, at the Colts complex when I do my COVID test, I mean, I'm sneezing like none other afterwards. You know, they're all like, get him out of here, he's got COVID, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was dead wrong. Rock played 42 snaps, Rodgers 31. I don't know. I just feel like every time I look down,
You saw Rodgers out
I
there,
saw
yeah.
Rodgers in the game, but both of them, and both are critical.
Yes.
I mean, we'll see what the wideout situation looks like for Arizona on Saturday night, but I think no matter what, Arizona wants to spread you out.
Daniel and Colt Maniac have similar questions. We'll condense them into one.
Okay.
Can Carson Wentz win us a game? They feel like he hasn't really had the season that we all seem that he would have, and he crumbles in big moments. They're not sold on him yet.
Yeah, you know, it's I would agree. I mean, I think it's the biggest question we have. And again, it's a big question, Chris, when talking about the platform and the stage of one-and-done playoff football. That's just a different animal. Like, you can be a really, really good quarterback in the regular season and have long stretches of very good moments. But, man, you get paid this crazy amount of money and you give up a first-round and a third-round pick and all this stuff because the position just means a whole hell of a lot, especially when it gets real. And, like, the other question I have, though, to this one is, like, can a team take away JT?
Prove it.
Really? You know, Joe Wiz thought less than 50 rushing yards for JT on Saturday. I'm like, Joe, he hasn't had that in 20 games. Like, and then pass rush, you know?
Right.
I mean, you know, I said it a few podcasts ago, the Quiddy Pay sack numbers, yes, they were sacks, but they weren't sacks, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
A little bit of not consistent enough pressure for me, and I think he's been a little quiet in that category here as of late. So, again, when we're evaluating this team on the gold standard of deep January, early February football, those are the questions.
This one comes from Craig. Monstrous win, players making plays, incredible game by Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner, and, of course, Jonathan Taylor. Has Matt Eberflus changed his philosophy? His D at the beginning of the season was vanilla. Tonight he called a lot more blitz and pressed his corners. Was that because Mac Jones is a rookie and the trend going forward, or is this a trend going forward as it seems to work? Also, what is the digging motion that the D is doing after big plays? We notice it with DeForest Buckner sack there.
Well, let's start there, Craig, and I'm glad you brought up Eberflus because he definitely deserves some praise. I thought it was also a digging of the grave, you know, like we're digging a grave for court, which is, I mean, very graphic, but at the same time, very creative. I think it's actually, Buckner, I think, clarified this at one point, that they're sweeping you out of the stadium. Sweeping you off the field.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to punt. My older brother-in-law, him and his brother-in-law, if you can follow that family tree out, they went to the Colts-Falcons game a few years ago. Colts win down there in Atlanta. I believe that was a Hasselbeck started game, if I'm not mistaken. I think DeQuell Jackson might have had a pick six in that game. And anyways, this guy decides to take a broom of one of the Georgia Dome workers afterwards and say that the Colts were sweeping the Falcons out of their own stadium on the concourse. Now, I don't know if he was able to make it back to his car in one piece, but again, you laugh, and I think I would laugh if I saw that happening. I think I would if I were a home fan.
Right.
I think I would chuckle. Being a fan and winning in a road stadium, boy, that's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Really, really good feeling. Okay, Craig's question. Eberflus. I think the Jets game was a wake-up call. I think it was. Now, again, head against wall, it shouldn't take that long to make it. But I really have noticed a big change. Variety of coverages, a little bit more man, stickier from the secondary. I think the completion percentage has gone down. And against rookies, I think he has dialed it up a little bit more. But I have noticed. I just noticed the corners making more plays than the ball. I thought Kenny had a couple of big plays.
Yeah.
I thought your stars. Buckner had the early sack, which was big. Leonard, of course, Kenny. I saw Kenny skyrocket in Pro Bowl voting. Did you see that?
Yeah, he's up to.
That's got to be Hard Knocks, isn't it? Seriously.
Yeah, that's a testament to his character. People watching him who probably didn't know him, which he kind of flies. Well, not kind of. He does fly under the radar.
He does.
So.
Fan voting has never been that he's gotten.
Yeah.
And hell, he flies under the radar, I think, with the NFL. I always say this about Pro Bowl voting. I've watched these dudes vote for the Pro Bowl. They vote for their boys.
Yeah.
You're Chris Presley and you played at Alabama, you're going to vote for your Alabama teammates, and you're going to vote for, I went up against that dude when he played for Auburn. I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah.
Valdosta State for Kenny Moore. Just sucks. Shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. Third voting fan, third voting player, third voting coach.
Well, the Colts game got everyone riled up. Most people were drinking, as was Zach. He was at the game, had a couple beers in him.
Pops?
Tweeted you during it and said,
Oh, I love these.
He said, is Carson Wentz cured or is Jonathan Taylor just covered up for him? He hoped the Colts pulled out a big W, and they did.
Boy, Zach, I love it. I'd love to know the score, time of the game when he sent this in, because that could have been late, if Wentz had just thrown the pick. He's cured from the disaster we saw last year. This time last year, Carson Wentz was holding a Microsoft Surface.
Right.
Hell, I don't even know if he was doing that. He hated Jalen Hurts so much, he probably didn't even do that. He probably was like,
chucking it like Brady did last night.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Doug, I'm going to stand over here, and if you need me, this is where you can find me. Cured from that. And all year long, and I think it's interesting how it's played out. I feel like the target range I thought for Wentz, I think he's been right there all year. I think he's been in that 10 to 12 range. I feel like that's what we've said all year long. Reich is going to improve. And again, minimal offseason work. So kudos to Reich and him for getting it to that degree. But the JT is covered up for him. JT should allow for even more. Kind of goes back to our earlier question. So, yeah.
Jason wants to know, is Hot Rod activated on Tuesday?
Hey, did you see that post-game locker room video?
Not yet.
Okay. So Irsay's got the cowboy hat.
Oh, I did. Yes.
Someone just tweeted at me, should Jim Irsay...
Hot Rod was behind him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone goes, should Jim Irsay's band play for the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show? I don't know if there's ever been a easier question to answer in my life. Yes. Who is it this year? Isn't it a bunch of Eminem and
so it's a bunch of the OGs out in LA.
Jay-Z
so I think
or
it's
somebody?
like Dr. Dre, Snoop. Yeah, a bunch of the Compton guys out there. Yeah.
Irsay open? Hell, Irsay closed.
Irsay opening for
They opened for him. Extend halftime by another 5 or 10 minutes. It's already long enough. Is Hot Rod Hot Rod smart there? When Badgley missed the field goal, I don't know if you saw, but Hot Rod was doing some jumping jacks on the side. No, I'm obviously kidding there. But Hot Rod in that post-game locker room, he scurried to the front there. You don't see many inactive guys get that close to the old front, but he was right there saying, Jim, don't forget about me. It's weird how the end of Hot Rod is healthy, and yet he's still on IR. I'm always kind of like, should each NFL team have an independent doctor that says, all right, the guy's healthy. You got to make a decision on him. Either you cut him or you bring him up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of weird how the Colts are, and teams do this around the league. I'm not acting like just the Colts do it. I still think he's got another. I think he's got one more kick on the leash, Badgley. Yeah, and Reich said that he's not anticipating a change. The other thing I want to say is, since when does Hot Rod just bang home 49-yarders?
Yeah, Badgley's played well. I know
Badgley missed one, and I know he missed the earlier one, which I think is, and he hit the one off the upright. I get it. There's been shakier moments from Badgley lately. But, like, I don't think you want to also, like, create more drama than you need to. Like, if you all of a sudden go to Hot Rod and then he misses a couple, now, like, this is a huge storyline that's dominating into the season. Roll with Badgley.
Right.
He's got one more kick. Now, he misses a 32-yarder in Arizona that's big or whatever. Now we're having a bigger discussion. But for now, I think Badgley's earned the right for one more kick.
Yeah, don't create storylines that don't need to be there right now.
Yeah, I just don't think it's that prevalent of one.
From Logan, hey, Kevin and Chris, the Maniac is playing well, but is playing so well, and Jonathan Taylor is on fire himself. When was the last time the Colts had an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year in the same season? Love the podcast. Merry Christmas to you and your families.
Well, Merry Christmas to you as well, and thank you for that question there. Who is this from? Sorry.
This is from Logan.
Logan, okay. Never? I don't know. Bob Sanders won Defensive Player of the Year, right? Unless Peyton won it that year.
That was my thought. I
Yeah.
need to go back and look, but I
Yeah.
don't think Peyton won it that year.
And, I mean, unfortunately, Logan, it's not going to it's like the Pacers get on national television because a team had a COVID breakout. It's the only way the Pacers can get on TNT. It's like, I think we're getting a little greedy there if we think the Colts are going to sweep both of them. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, I would say never. I could be wrong.
This one comes from Sal. Kevin, I know everyone is seeming to call Carson's performance on Saturday not very good, but when a quarterback only throws the ball 12 times, it's hard for him to get in rhythm. Yes, there was a couple of head scratchers, but I feel like this isn't the Carson Wentz that has been playing for us. Don't forget, he went 3 for 3 on quarterback sneaks and big moments.
Sal, totally acknowledge the early part. I get a lot of people tweeting at me about these QB sneaks and big moments. Like, folks, again, Tom Brady can QB sneak it. Like, nice plays, but let's not act like Jacoby Brissett QB snuck it really well. I didn't see people clamoring for Jacoby Brissett's statue to be built outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Like, nice plays, but, I mean, I'm not giving up a first and third round pick because my guy can QB sneak it. So I'm not really going to go there. But, Sal, you are right. 14-game sample size, you are right. This is not the Wentz we've seen. But in the 2 games this year that I woke up on the Monday morning leading into those weeks that I had extra pep and juice, the 2 games that the crowd rose in the first quarter on third downs and the energy level was there and Blue was moving even faster than he usually does in that mascot and the Colts cheerleaders that's been when Wentz has looked his worst. So it's all about evaluating these guys, particularly quarterback, on just many stages. It's what you do. Not every game is the same. So, yeah, I get that there are some people that are like, how dare you scold Carson Wentz? The Colts won the game yesterday. That cannot happen. Sorry. You guys know, we're a podcast looks at the good and the bad after wins and losses, both of them. And if you want to wear those blinders and ignore that out of Carson, feel free to. Yeah. But remember what happened in the Baltimore game when we were like, or not the Baltimore game, the Miami game where he played with a little fire late? San Francisco played with fire late, throughout that game, really. Tennessee happens the next week. Boom. You see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Got to acknowledge it. Sorry, Sal.
Yeah, and Jake, I know you're listening. You asked the same particular question, so I want to lump you in just to let you know about the QB sneaks.
Yeah. Thank you.
5 more quickly here.
Okay.
From Cameron, can you think of another running back as good at making people miss in the box as Jonathan Taylor? Also, his blitz pickups was the most impressive play for him.
Man, that was you get an ooh and an ah during a play. Like,
yeah,
that was one of those. I think the popular one you hear, Chris, is Le'Veon Bell. His prime with Pittsburgh, certainly there. That 67-yard run, you watch that replay. What was it? Was it a 2nd and 8? Does that sound right?
It was around, because we were trying to, closing out the game.
The thing about that sequence, Chris, I've had conversations with Frank Reich about this. Frank loves to throw in those situations, Like, for him to stick with Taylor there, that shows you how worried he was about his old QB. I know he said things afterwards, but actions speak louder than words. Oh, yeah, Doolin got the first touch, didn't he? Doolin right in for 2 yards. Taylor, 2nd and 8 from the 33. I've gone back and watched that replay numerous times now. From the 33-yard line, I think McCourty and Hightower were like at the 36. So let's say they crash into Taylor. Taylor falls forward
right
to the 38. You get 5 there. It's a 3rd and 3. What do you think they do on 3rd and 3?
Well,
Give it to Taylor twice. Go
you
for it.
should. We didn't see a lot of.
Now that would have been. I mean,
we didn't see a lot of tight end targets, and we haven't really seen a lot of tight end targets.
That's kind of a go-to that they like in those situations, like sticking in Taylor's belly, dump it to Doyle,
right
in the flat. That would have been, because at that point, you had fans saying if they don't, they gotta start serving beer for the final 2 minutes. I mean that was, we were looking for barf bags. That was uneasy, but man, again, I bring it up to say, Hightower and McCourty are there. A normal running back falls into them, and then it's still. But Taylor has. It's not that Taylor has a home run ability, Chris. He's got a tape measure home run ability. Like, it's not 10, it's not 12, it's 60,
right?
It's 70.
And for that size, like you mentioned,
right?
It's
rare, man. Rare.
And it doesn't shock you. It's like the Jaguars game last year. I was jumping up. You said like your brother and his friend. I was jumping up and down in the living room. Once he hit that hole, it was like, see ya. He's gone.
See ya, baby. Good night. Sleep tight.
Kay Ferguson has 2 questions for you. One, assuming Taylor's run included, give me your top 5 loudest crowd moments in Colts history, which you touched on a little bit earlier.
Whoa. Top 5?
Top 5. Go
okay.
Top 5.
Okay.
And is this just Lucas Oil or is this RCA Dome? Because he says your top 5 Colts moments.
Okay, so I go back to about it's about 05. So yeah, let's go back to the Dome.
Okay.
Marlins pick to go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that Mathis strip sack.
Yeah, that was
the crescendo again of the Hilton comeback. The crescendo of Taylor's run. That would be up there. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I had to go for a 5th, it'd probably be Reggie's touchdown. I love the orange glove game against Green Bay.
Yeah.
The reaching out on the goal line with Woodson, I think, blanketing him. But I'll go with the 4th and 2. You stopped them on 4th and 2, but then Reggie scored the touchdown to win the game. A couple plays later, I'll go with Reggie's touchdown there.
Okay.
And he jumps in the stands. I think his parents are right there. Almost ran over Ryan Bowen, actually.
Great moments.
Yes.
Number 2, can we get a Colts wide receiver 2 jersey going like the Browns quarterback jersey with the list of names on the back?
Wait.
I don't think we're there yet, but
that one again.
So as people know, the Browns, the running joke, if you go on Google, I think it goes from couch down. People put the list.
It's not a jersey, it's a freaking dress.
Yeah, people just put the list of the quarterback nameplates on the back, which now is probably at like 45.
Right.
Can we get a Colts wide receiver 2
Nick
jersey
Mullins
going?
now on the shirt tonight?
He will be
or
tonight.
Is Baker back tonight?
No, it is Nick Mullins.
Is it
tonight.
still Mullins?
Yep.
I didn't realize Mullins has started so much in his career.
Yeah, he had a pretty good run there in San Francisco. Probably 10 or 12 starts, I would say.
I know. I forget. I asked Frank. Did I ask Frank? I thought I asked Frank something about, I don't know, maybe he was talking about, I asked him about Mike Strawn a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Maybe it was last week. And he's like, well, we've been pretty good at that position. I'm thinking, I've watched a couple of Belichick pressers. I usually watch the opposing coach pressers throughout the week. Belichick is actually a good quote because he tells you like it is.
Did you see he apologized this morning about his post-game press conference?
Right. He was very short in his post-game presser. But, I watched the post-game presser, and, at least he tells you how it is. We didn't do anything well. Frank would never say that after a game. So, as someone that you want an honest opinion out of, now, is he expansive to the degree that Frank is offensively? No. But, I do appreciate, if I ask Belichick about Mike Strawn, I don't think I'm going to, and the Colts wideout core, look like how they've looked this year, I don't think I'm going to get we've been really good at that position this year. I'm
Just less, for lack of better terms, less fluff.
Yeah.
You could probably get an extra 45 minutes of sleep if you covered the Patriots.
Well, I don't know if I'm saying that, but yeah, I kind of hear you out.
From Salvador, our friend from Monterrey, Mexico, which also Pato Award, who races here in the Indy 500, is from Monterrey as well.
Salvador, thank you. Love it.
Do you guys
Pato Award, you talk about a great personality. Him and Kenny Moore.
Yeah.
He came into training camp with Kenny.
That's true.
Kenny, loves IndyCar.
He does. He was out there with Joey this past May.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Do you guys think that Ashton Doolin has emerged as a good wide
By the
receiver
way,
3?
big win for Joey Steelers.
I know. It's always good when Joey Steelers gets a win. It's better for Twitter.
Yes. Yes. I could not agree more with that. Better for Riley Sanders.
Yeah.
But yes.
Do you guys think that we can get Ashton Doolin, or do you think Ashton Doolin has emerged as wide receiver number 3 for the Colts moving forward? And I think we have to recognize the fantastic job that Matt Eberflus has done in the last game, and also the complete defense.
How about this? Carson Wentz, the lowest PFF single game passing grade of the season on Saturday night.
Really?
I'm not a big PFF gospel person, whatever PFF says goes. I'm not like that. There's been a lot of NFL football games this year. Is that really the worst?
I guess. I mean, if
God, can you imagine if they took away the Hines touchdown?
Right.
They turned that in. Okay, Doolin. I got to look up Ashton Doolin's stats. Has he caught more than 2 balls in the last month? I mean, yes, Ashton Doolin's made some plays, but let's pump the brakes just a hair. I still think it's a little gadgety, Chris. Okay, Ashton Doolin has, in the last 5 games, he has 3 total catches.
Yeah, 12 on the season.
Salvador, thank you for the question, but I just cannot go number 3 wideout. Hell, he hasn't caught more than 2 balls in a game all year.
Mm-hmm.
So I just look. He's a nice piece right now, and you need him. And he can kind of be a little gadgety, but I can't go there. It's more of an indictment of where you are as a receiver group right now. But he's helping you. I just can't say you get into a natural move the ball down the field type of game. I still got to see a little bit more out of Doolin before I go there.
All right, Kevin, the Colts season is reversed. We go back to front in terms of how we're playing the games. For example, Jacksonville week 1, Seattle week 18. Do we have a better record, the same record, or a worse record?
Whoa. All right, give that to me again. So the season starts with Jacksonville?
Season starts with Jacksonville. So you go Jacksonville Raiders, Cardinals, Patriots. You go back to front. Are we better or worse at this point?
Jeez, I don't know that. I'm trying to picture the calendar, and I just can't do it, man. That's hard for me. This late, that's a question you got to ask me early in Twitter questions. I can't think. The Colts don't beat openers. They don't win openers. They lost in Jacksonville last year.
I feel we're probably about the same.
Yeah, I don't.
You hopefully get a win in Jacksonville, maybe the Raiders, you lose to the Cardinals, Patriots.
I can't believe Seattle's been this bad.
I know, right?
That's the worst game the Colts have played all year. Which is just, if you would have said that after week 1, you would have said, where do I sign up? Again, I keep on going back to that double-digit lead stat. That is just wild to me.
And hopefully, as good as we thought, as good as Seattle played against us, and as good as Arizona has looked, they're starting to fall off. So maybe we get Arizona on a back end.
Yeah, and Arizona's banged up, dude.
They're only 1.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I saw that. And I have a feeling that will continue to favor towards the Colts.
All right, last question. Hey, Kevin, this is from Logan. This might be from a high from on Saturday's Win Talking, but he thinks Reich should be top 3 in the Coach of the Year conversation. We are 2 second-half collapses away from being a number 1 seed and still have a chance to be the number 2 seed. Would love to hear your thoughts. Always love the content. And I can tell you right now, as of this morning, Frank Reich is 4th in terms of Coach of the Year odds.
Okay.
At plus 1,600.
I assume Belichick's the
Belichick is
favorite.
the far favorite.
Yeah, big favorite. I would probably put. Jesus.
Oh boy!
As I just break the mic to end this one, I'm gonna hold the mic like I'm.
There you go.
Like I'm a live TV person here. I'd probably put Reich in the 4-ish range. I'm trying to think of other people. Kingsbury's still got to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Their win total couldn't have been up there. Who would you put Matt LaFleur up there? I know he's got Rodgers, but
I would.
The team, honestly. What was the Bengals over/under on wins to start the year?
That is true. They have performed very well, and as you said, as of right now, obviously we're recording before the Cleveland game. They're number 1 in their division,
in the North. Yeah, I think Reich's done a nice job. I also think. I thought 11-6 the Colts would go this year. Mm-hmm. They're 8-6 right now. So so far they're kind of at expectation. But I think Reich in a. With Wentz and just the limited offseason, I think that should carry some merit. I'd probably extend the list to 5 or 6, though. I don't know if I'm going top 3 just yet, Logan. But, if you're able to rattle it off, and again, I mean, the 2 second half collapses, I get that. But again, isn't that some of that on coaching? Like,
Right.
You get the Ravens are 2-point conversions away from being here, or the Bills are a QB sneak against Tennessee. I feel like to some degree there are teams that can kind of make that sing whatever music they want to.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think Frank, I'd put him in a 6-ish person list. Yeah. And again, you win 2 or 3, you dance.
Right.
That's all you want, man. You want to be on the dance floor.
All right, coming off a big win, 27-17 against the Patriots. That's this edition's of Kevin Corner. Obviously, Kevin, Merry Christmas to you and your family this weekend, and we get to watch the Cardinals play, and hopefully we all get a big present that night.
Very well said, Chris Presley. Merry Christmas to you as well. To all of our listeners out there, again, safe travels. We will not have a pod next week. I'm going to be traveling, doing the show remote, so it's going to be difficult to do a pod. So if you're looking for my thoughts on the Arizona game, check out Kevin and Query. That's Query. That podcast you can find on all podcast platforms. And that's our morning show from 7 to 10 a.m. every morning here on 107.5 The Fan, Monday through Friday. So we'll be back in the new year to discuss the Raiders recap. And at that point, you could be talking about a team that's clinched a playoff berth, which is kind of crazy to say after all the help the Colts needed here over the past month. He's Chris Presley. I'm Kevin Bowen. Again, everybody safe travels, and we'll talk to you here in a couple weeks. Later. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.